All right, friends. Today I'm going to share one of the most important lessons of my life, and I'm telling you this as a bank owner, someone who looks at dozens of people's financial statements every single day, reviews credit files, goes over retirement plans. I've been in this business for years, and when I sit down at my desk and look into my clients' eyes, there's one thing I see more than anything else: regret. Now picture two brothers. They grew up in the same house, went to the same schools, received the same opportunities from the same parents, chose similar career paths, and earned nearly identical salaries throughout their lives. When they reached 65, one retired with $1.4 million in savings, a house with no mortgage left, and complete financial freedom. He spends his winters in Arizona, contributes to his grandchildren's college expenses, and never looks at prices in restaurants. And isn't that just a beautiful thing, don't you think? The other brother retired with $180,000 in savings, a mortgage with 12 more years of payments remaining, and constant financial anxiety. He works part-time because his Social Security payments don't cover his expenses. He can't sleep at night because he's calculating whether to pay for his medications or his property taxes. Same genes, same upbringing, same earning power, but radically different outcomes. So where did this divergence happen? In their 20s? No. Both of them were too young and financially too limited during that period to make meaningful financial progress. In their 30s? No. Both were building families during that time, building careers and moving forward with similar approaches. In their 50s? No. By that point, the trajectory was already locked in. This divergence happened entirely in their 40s. One brother made a series of decisions throughout that decade, decisions that seemed small at the time. The other brother made different decisions that also seemed small. Neither one realized they were determining the entire shape of their remaining lives. Friends, your 40s are the most critical financial decade you will ever experience. Not because the decisions are harder, but because the risks multiply in ways you don't notice until it's too late. And today I'm going to tell you exactly why this decade carries such disproportionate importance, the specific decisions that separate a comfortable retirement from a stressful one, and what you can do right now, no matter what age you are, to make sure you end up on the right side of this divide. Now let me explain the mathematics that make your 40s so disproportionately powerful. Your 40s sit at the intersection of three financial forces that never align at any other point in your life. Understanding these forces explains why this decade determines everything that follows. The first force: peak earning power. For most professionals, income reaches its highest point somewhere between ages 42 and 55. The raises that felt significant in your 30s slow down or stop, but the absolute dollar amounts are at the highest level of your career. This means your 40s are your richest years in terms of raw material. Someone earning $120,000 at age 45 can save more in absolute terms than at any previous point in their career. The second force: remaining compound interest time. At 40, you still have 20 to 25 years until traditional retirement. That's enough time for your money to roughly quadruple at historical market returns. A dollar invested at age 40 becomes approximately $4 by age 65. At 50, you have 15 years remaining. A dollar becomes roughly $2.5. At 55, you have 10 years. A dollar becomes roughly $2. The compounding multiplier drops rapidly with each passing year. Your 40s are the last decade where meaningful compound growth is still possible. Money you invest at 42 works dramatically harder than money you invest at 52. The third force: expense stabilization. By the time you reach your 40s, most major expenses have peaked or begun to decline. Children become more independent and eventually leave home. The house you stretched to afford now fits comfortably within your budget. Your career wardrobe is established, the furniture is bought. This stabilization creates potential margin that didn't exist in your 30s when every expense category was growing simultaneously. The real question is whether that margin flows into savings or gets swallowed by lifestyle expansion. These three forces combine to create a decade of unusual leverage. You have more income than ever before, you have enough time remaining for compounding to still work meaningfully, and you have potential margin from stabilizing expenses. The person who captures this alignment builds serious wealth. The person who misses it faces mathematical constraints that cannot be overcome later. Now let me show you the specific numbers that illustrate this leverage. Let's think about someone who starts at age 40 with $100,000 in retirement savings. They earn $110,000 annually and can reasonably save 15% of their income, which is $16,500. If they actually save that 15% from age 40 to 65 and invest in diversified index funds returning 8% annually, they'll accumulate approximately $1.35 million by retirement. Combined with Social Security, we're talking about a comfortable retirement with significant margin. If instead they save only 5% during their 40s, and then increase to 15% at 50 when retirement feels more urgent, they'll accumulate approximately $780,000 by retirement. Despite only 10 years of reduced contributions, that's $570,000 less. The contributions in your 40s carry such disproportionate importance because they have 25 years to grow through compounding. The contributions of your 50s only have 15 years. The mathematical leverage of time cannot be recovered through increased contributions later. Now let's go over the specific decisions that matter most during this critical decade. The first decision: housing. Your 40s often bring the urge to upgrade your living situation. The kids have grown and need more space. And of course, that's their most natural right. You've earned your success and want a home that reflects it. The mortgage payments feel manageable given your income. This housing upgrade decision may be the single most critical financial choice you make in your entire life. A family that moves from a $350,000 home to a $600,000 home increases their monthly housing cost by approximately $1,500 to $2,000. That's $18,000 to $24,000 annually that cannot be invested over the 25 years from age 40 to 65. That annual difference compounds to somewhere between $900,000 and $1.3 million in retirement wealth. The house upgrade literally costs $1 million, friends. I'm not saying nobody should ever buy a larger home. I'm saying most people make this decision without understanding its true cost. They think they're spending an extra $1,800 per month on housing. They're actually spending over $1 million of their retirement wealth. The family that stays in the modest home and invests the difference gains options the upgrading family never has. They can retire earlier. They can work part-time instead of full-time in their 60s. They can help their children buy homes. They can survive financial crises without catastrophe. The second decision: vehicles. Your 40s often bring more expensive car purchases. The practical sedan gets replaced with a luxury vehicle. The reliable SUV gets traded for a prestigious model. A family running two $45,000 vehicles, compared to a family running two $28,000 vehicles, carries approximately $34,000 more in auto debt, pays higher insurance premiums, and faces more expensive repair costs. Over time, this vehicle premium leads to a loss of somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 in retirement wealth, depending on how frequently vehicles are replaced. The third decision: children's lifestyle and education. Your 40s typically cover the most expensive child-rearing years. Teenagers need cars, insurance, activities, and eventually college. Some families take on Parent Plus loans exceeding $100,000 to send their children to prestigious universities. Others drain their retirement accounts to fund education. Others simply stop contributing to retirement entirely during the college years. Each of these decisions mortgages the parent's retirement to fund the children's education. While the children step into their peak earning years with their entire careers ahead of them, the parents enter their 50s with depleted savings and only a decade to recover. Families that successfully navigate this situation have usually made uncomfortable choices. Children are expected to attend state universities or schools offering scholarships. Children are expected to contribute through work or loans. Retirement contributions are maintained even when college bills create pressure to stop. The fourth decision: career risk tolerance. Your 40s open the door to career moves that could significantly increase income. New companies recruiting you for senior positions, startups offering equity, industries where your skills command a premium. Many people become increasingly risk-averse in their 40s precisely when they should be taking strategic risks. They've built seniority and comfort at their current employer, and the thought of starting over somewhere new feels threatening. But your 40s are the last window for income acceleration. By the time you reach 50, hiring discrimination begins to affect opportunities. The person who takes strategic career risks at 43 has time to recover if the risk doesn't pay off. The person who waits until 53 does not. The income difference between staying comfortable and pursuing growth can exceed $30,000 to $40,000 annually. Over 10 years, that's $300,000 to $400,000 in additional earnings. The fifth decision: accepting lifestyle inflation. Your 40s bring social pressure to display success. Colleagues take lavish vacations, neighbors renovate their kitchens, friends buy boats and vacation homes. Some families resist this pressure and maintain the lifestyle that felt comfortable in their late 30s. Others absorb every dollar of increased income into visible consumption, matching their peer group. The difference in retirement outcomes between these two approaches typically exceeds $1 million. Now let me tell you the story of David and Christine to show how these decisions compound. David and Christine married in their late 20s. By the time they reached 40, they had accumulated $185,000 in retirement accounts, owned a modest home worth $320,000 with $180,000 remaining on the mortgage, and were raising two children aged 12 and 9. Their combined income had reached $165,000. They needed to make decisions about how to manage the coming decade. David strongly advocated for upgrading their home. A comparable home in a nicer development would cost $575,000. Christine was hesitant but eventually agreed. The housing upgrade increased their monthly costs by $1,650. To cover this, they reduced their retirement contributions from 15% to 6%. It's temporary, they told themselves. 2 years later, David's car started having problems. Instead of getting it repaired, they decided he deserved a better car. The new SUV added $680 to their monthly expenses. A year later, Christine's car was also upgraded. The children's high school years brought private sports training, SAT prep courses, and college visits. When the first child enrolled at an out-of-state university, David and Christine took a Parent Plus loan rather than asking their daughter to choose a more affordable option. Throughout their 40s, David and Christine never felt financially irresponsible. Every individual decision seemed reasonable. When they reached 50, their retirement accounts held $240,000. That was only $55,000 more than they'd had a decade earlier, despite 10 years of contributions and market growth. The kids were finally independent. David and Christine were determined to catch up. They maxed out their retirement contributions. By age 65, they had accumulated $685,000. It felt like a lot until they ran the retirement projections. They would likely run out of money by age 82. They would need to sell the house, dramatically reduce expenses, or work well into their 70s. Now let me tell you about Robert and Jennifer. Robert and Jennifer looked remarkably similar to David and Christine at age 40. Combined income of $155,000, retirement savings of $165,000, two children aged 11 and 8. Robert suggested moving to a larger home. Jennifer pushed back hard. She had done research on the mathematical impact of housing decisions on retirement outcomes. They decided to stay in their current home. The decision felt like a sacrifice at first, but the monthly difference of $1,650 flowed directly into retirement accounts. When Robert's car needed replacing, they bought a 3-year-old certified pre-owned vehicle. As college approached, they had honest conversations with their children about costs. Both kids attended state universities with merit scholarships. Throughout their 40s, Robert and Jennifer felt like they were swimming against the social current. Their lifestyle looked modest compared to their peers. By age 50, their retirement accounts held $580,000. Combined with aggressive saving and market returns, they had more than tripled their balance in a decade. By age 65, Robert and Jennifer had accumulated $1.65 million. Their house was paid off. They could retire fully, travel extensively, and never worry about money again. The mathematical difference between these two families was not earned through different incomes or different investment skills. It was earned through different decisions made in their 40s. And here's what I find striking, friends. Throughout their 40s, both families were equally satisfied with their lives. Research consistently shows that lifestyle inflation provides only temporary boosts to happiness. Within 18 to 24 months, people adapt to their new normal. David and Christine didn't actually live their 40s more fully than Robert and Jennifer. They just spent more. The additional spending provided no lasting satisfaction, while permanently constraining the decades that followed. Now let me give you specific guidance based on where you currently stand. If you're in your 20s or 30s reading this, you have the gift of foresight. You now know that your 40s will create constant pressure to expand your lifestyle during your peak earning years. Build the habits now that will protect you then. Set up automatic retirement contributions that you will never reduce. Define what enough means before your income makes excess possible. If you're entering your 40s, you're standing at the most important financial inflection point of your life. The decisions you make in the next 10 years will determine whether you retire comfortably or stressed. Audit every major expense category right now. Is your housing appropriately sized? Are your vehicles transportation or status symbols? Are you funding retirement before funding lifestyle? Every yes to lifestyle expansion is a no to retirement security. If you find yourself in the wrong story toward the end of your 40s, you still have time to change trajectory. Every percentage point you add to your savings rate right now will improve your outcome. Consider radical options that your lifestyle-inflated peers wouldn't dare consider. Downsizing housing now rather than in retirement, selling expensive vehicles, moving to jobs that pay more even if they require change. If you've already passed your 40s with insufficient savings, focus on what remains within your control. Delay Social Security to maximize your benefits. Consider working longer. Downsize your housing to release equity. Let me address the psychological difficulty that underlies all of these decisions. The difficulty of frugality in your 40s comes from feeling like you've earned the right to enjoy your success. After 20 years of working, the impulse to finally live well feels completely justified. But when does that gratification actually arrive? This framing is the trap that captures most people, friends. The satisfaction you seek through lifestyle expansion provides temporary pleasure followed by permanent constraint. The upgraded home feels exciting for 18 months, then feels normal while permanently continuing to reduce your retirement savings. The luxury car provides a thrill for a year, then becomes just a car, while permanently continuing to limit your options. True gratification isn't found in consuming your peak earning years. It's found in converting those years into permanent freedom. The person who resists lifestyle inflation in their 40s experiences genuine gratification every day of their comfortable retirement. The person who inflated their lifestyle experiences genuine stress every day of their constrained retirement. The discomfort of frugality in your 40s lasts 10 years. The reward lasts 30 years or more. The pleasure of indulgence in your 40s lasts 2 to 3 years. The consequence lasts 30 years or more. Picture yourself at age 70, friends. You're sitting on a porch or in a living room. The morning is quiet. In one version of that future, you're thinking about which grandchild you'll visit this month. You're planning a trip somewhere you've always wanted to see. You feel at ease because unexpected expenses don't threaten your security. In the other version, you're calculating whether this month's Social Security check will cover your medications. You're worried about what will happen if your car needs repairs. You feel anxious about an uncertain future with limited options. Both versions of you made their 40s decisions decades earlier. Both are living with the consequences. Which version you become depends almost entirely on what you do between 40 and 50. Not on luck, not on income, but on decisions about housing, vehicles, education, career, and lifestyle that compound just like money does. Your 40s will eventually come to an end. The decade will pass, whether you make intentional choices or go with default ones. The only question is which version of your 70-year-old self you are creating. Your 40s will decide everything. This is not a burden. This is an opportunity. What you do with that opportunity is entirely up to you, friend.